So it turns out that we really, really need each other. So we've been working our way through Romans 12. And so far we've gone through Romans 12, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to break the rules a little bit. I know I promised you one verse per video, okay? But we're going to read a couple verses this time. We're going to pick it up in Romans 12, verse 4. It says, "For just as each of us has one body with many members," and this took me a second to figure out, like when he says members, he means like arms and legs, okay? Like at the first part, right? So again, for just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it's to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. So, as we talked about in the last video, Paul's kind of laying out the groundwork or the building blocks that it's going to take to bring different groups in the Roman church together. Like groups that were really different, that grew up different, that had different amounts of money, that looked differently, that had different privilege in society. And so in verse 1, he talked about how we need to sacrifice for each other. In verse 2, he talked about how we need to be holy and not kind of living the way that the world does or thinking the way the world does. In verse 3, he talked about how we need to be humble. And then finally, what he's kind of laying out in these next verses, 4, 5, and 6, I think 6, right? Did I get to 6? And 7, is that we really, really need each other. You know, I was lucky enough to work in orthopedics. I'm a physician assistant, and I did it for a number of years before I moved to Florida. And one of the crazy things that I got to be a part of were amputations. Okay, I got to know patients, talk to them before they had a limb cut off, and know them afterwards and talk to them about what it was like. And I'll tell you what, there is nothing that changes a life more than losing a limb. Okay, everything is different. Okay, if you lose your arm, it's not, you might, like a couple things might come to mind, but it's literally everything, right? Like it's hard to get dressed, it's hard to eat, it's hard to write, it's hard to type, it's hard to use a mouse, it's hard to drive. Like it just goes on and on and on, like the number of things that need to change. I mean, we need each part of our body. And when we lose it, it's a devastating loss. It changes everything for every other piece of the puzzle, you know? We need to think about ourselves this way. You might be somebody that doesn't value your own contribution to our church or to our family. Or you might be the type of person that looks at people that may think differently or feel differently about a particular topic or issue and feel as though those people, because of that, are less valuable. You know, what this passage tells us is that each member, each piece of our body is absolutely vital to one another. God's given us gifts, it says, okay, that allow us, that kind of work like pieces of a puzzle, right? And the moment that you take away one of those jigsaw puzzle pieces, I mean, there's nothing that's more frustrating than doing an entire jigsaw puzzle and then not having that one last piece, right? And each of you, and myself included, are that last piece. I mean, we're vital to each other. And we have to make sure that we love and include and embrace other people so that we can all work together to glorify God.